Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this session of the Montgomery County Council. This morning, we will begin with a presentation, a proclamation recognizing National Preparedness Month, and I'll turn it over to Councilmember Katz with Dr. Earl Stoddard and other representatives from our emergency services. So come on up.
Well, good morning, everyone. My goodness, we have quite a crowd. It's moments like this you're wondering if there is an emergency, who's going to take care of it right now, but we're all here. We're safe. We're safe. That's right. You literally have our back, so that's a good thing. I'm honored to present today's, along with Dr. Stoddard, proclamation to recognize National Preparedness Month. National Preparedness Month is an annual campaign to remind everyone that preparing for emergencies and disasters can keep them, their families, and their communities safe. Talking about the possibility of a disaster or emergency is not easy, but having a conversation with family members and friends is important to being prepared and staying safe. Being prepared means taking proactive steps to safeguard yourself and your loved ones before, during, and after an emergency, by building a comprehensive emergency kit, creating a detailed plan, and staying informed through alerts and training. You're not just reacting to a crisis, you're ready for it. Emergency kits should include non-perishable food and 1 gallon of water per person per day for at least 3 days, and at least 14 days of prescription medication, a battery-powered or hand-cranked radio, a first aid kit, flashlights with extra batteries, a cell phone charging cable and battery pack, and other necessities. Also, make sure every member of your family knows all critical phone numbers and keep both digital and hard copies in all your emergency kits and on you, and agree on a family meeting place that's familiar and easy to find. There will be a free Ready Montgomery Emergency Preparedness and Public Safety Fair hosted by the Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, also known as OEMHS, on Saturday, September 13th from 11 to 3 at Wheaton Local Park on Georgia Avenue in Silver Spring. We encourage everyone to attend as well to sign up for Alert Montgomery to receive important emergency notifications. Finally, we want to highlight community organizations active in disaster, which is a network of community organizations that collaborate to address the community's needs during all stages of disaster. This unique partnership includes nonprofits, civic groups, faith-based organizations, and government agencies working together to provide timely and effective assistance to disaster survivors. With little planning, all of us can be better prepared when, or not if, disasters or emergencies strike. What I'm going to do is, before I turn it over to Dr. Stoddard and the others, I'm going to ask people to please identify themselves and what group they're with as we hand around this microphone. There we go.
We are from the Salvation Army, Montgomery County. I'm Captain Timothy Joe.
Cheryl Germany, the Salvation Army, Montgomery County Corps.
Janelle Hughes Figueroa, the Salvation Army, Montgomery County Corps, but we have our EDS Rapid Response Unit.
Good morning, Lauren Welty with Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security.
Hi, everyone. Jeremy Costin, also Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security.
Chuck McGee, Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security. William Abuhawa, Maryland National Capital Region Emergency Response System.
Zach Estes, Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security.
Steve Kaufman, Montgomery County CERT Community Emergency Response Team.
Good morning. I'm Dina Saunders with Community Emergency Response Team.
Good morning. Małgorzata Brzonkowska, National Cancer Institute.
Good morning. Luke Hodgson with the Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security.
Earl Stoddard, Assistant Chief Administrative Officer, Office of the County Executive from Mark Elrich. Good morning, Zarina Thomas with Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated Emergency Response Team.
Good morning, Pearl Parker, Montgomery County Alumni Chapter, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
Margaret DeVoe, First VP for Montgomery County Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta, again along with our ERT co-chairs.
Kurt Luthi, American Red Cross, serving Montgomery County.
Sareem Streeter, the Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security.
Diana Altamar with American Red Cross Community Disaster Program Manager.
Again, thank you all for being here. Dr. Stoddard, please.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Earl Stoddard. I'm here on behalf of County Executive Mark Elrich, who regrets that he wasn't able to attend this morning. I want to echo Councilmember Katz's thank you to all of our community partners, both here in the room, but also across the county. We could not respond to emergencies without the support of our nonprofits and others who provide critical supports to our residents in times of great need. And we prepare with them on a regular basis to make sure that we can be there for our county residents when they need them. But what we need more is our county residents to help each other. We're going through a really period of change in emergency response across the country. At the federal level, there's a message being sent very clearly down to the states and locals that you're going to be expected to do more, and the federal government may not necessarily be coming in as quickly as they have in past iterations. And what that means is we need to be more prepared in Montgomery County to respond to the events that we can here and help each other out before we expect someone in to come in and save our bacon, as it were. And so what we're asking for our residents to do is, as Councilmember Katz also alluded to, have a plan. Work with your family, develop a strategy, develop a kit, be prepared if you need to leave your house quickly, where your family is going to meet, have contacts with one another, things of that nature. We also want people to get engaged with some of these nonprofit organizations that are helping each other out. And so if you're interested in the American Red Cross or the Salvation Army or our Medical Reserve Corps or our Community Emergency Response Team, these are volunteer opportunities that you can get engaged with in your community. They will train you up. You'll get CPR, AED trained, Narcan trained, and prepared to operate in a seamless team with our emergency responders to better protect yourselves, your neighbors, and your community. And so we very much encourage that. And so I also want to, as Councilmember Katz said, on September 13th, this Saturday, we will have an event where we're going to offer AED and CPR training to our residents. We're going to have lawn games. We're going to have tables and information sessions, talks, trainings, etc., for our community to better be prepared themselves, because we want to give you the tools to help yourselves and help your neighbors. We're still going to be there. We're not leaving our responsibility to come help you when you need help, but what we're asking is for everyone to be working collaboratively to do that mission together. So thank you very much.
You sure? Luke?
You guys did a great job. You covered everything.
Luke has heard enough. And with that, we have a proclamation. Whereas National Preparedness Month creates an important opportunity for every resident of Montgomery County, Maryland, to prepare their homes, businesses, and communities for any type of emergency, including natural and human-caused disasters, and
whereas investing in the preparedness of ourselves, our families, businesses, and communities can reduce fatalities and economic devastation in our communities and in our nation, and
whereas the Federal Emergency Management Agency's READY campaign and other federal, state, local, tribal, territorial, private, and volunteer agencies are working to increase public activities in preparing for emergencies and educating individuals on how to take action, and
whereas the Montgomery County Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security's year-round focus is resident preparedness for resiliency during and after emergencies, and
whereas the community organizations active in disaster, COAD, focuses on continuous preparedness to support the community in the event of an emergency, and
whereas emergency preparedness is the responsibility of Montgomery County, and Maryland residents are urged to make preparedness a priority and work together as a team to ensure that individuals, families, and communities are prepared for disasters and emergencies of any type, and
whereas all residents of Montgomery County, Maryland are encouraged to participate in preparedness activities, including participating with COAD and becoming more prepared. Now, therefore, it be resolved, the County Executive Mark Elrich and the entire County Council of Montgomery County, Maryland hereby recognize September 2025 as National Preparedness Month and encourage all residents to develop their own emergency preparedness plan and work together towards creating a more prepared society. It's presented today. It is signed by County Executive Elrich and Council President Kate Stewart. Thank you very much. I know we're going to take a picture and we're going to hand it out. You get the whole, since you didn't speak, you get the whole.
All right, thank you all for coming. I forgot we had the Deltas in the house this morning. I would have worn my red. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to our whole team in the Emergency Management Homeland Security Office. Thank you to our nonprofit partners, the Red Cross, Salvation Army, of course, the Deltas, and our CERT team. We really appreciate all the work that you do day in and day out. And this month is a good reminder of folks to do their own preparedness plan. So thank you, Councilmember Katz. Now we'll move on to general business. Madam Clerk, will you share today's announcements?
Good morning. The Council is seeking applicants to serve on the Merit System Protection Board and the Board of Appeals. Cover letters and resumes for both vacancies should be submitted by email to council.clerk@montgomerycountymd.gov or by mail by 5 o'clock p.m. on Monday, October 6, 2025. More information on both of these vacancies is available on the Council's website. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you very much. The minutes from the May 14th, 2025 closed session, the July 15th, 22nd, 29th, 2025 council sessions have been circulated to colleagues for review. Are there any objections to approving these minutes? All right. Seeing none, these minutes stand approved. All right, we have a couple of interviews this morning. Our first one is an interview of the county executive's nominee for Deputy Director, Office of Management and Budget for Montgomery County, Mr. Amin. And I have Mr. Madalino with us, Ms. Bryant joining us. The Office of Management and Budget supports and enhances the effective and efficient operations of county government, maintains the county's fiscal integrity, and helps preserve the county's AAA bond rating. Mr. Madalino and Ms. Bryant, would you like to introduce the nominee?
Thank you very much.
I don't think your microphone's on, Mr. Madalino. Thank you.
After I told him how to turn his microphone on, I forgot to
help
do
yourself
my own.
first.
Oh, my God. Madam President, Mr. Vice President, members of the council, it's a pleasure to be before you again today. Welcome back from recess and happy birthday, Montgomery County, as we celebrated the 249th birthday of the county on Saturday. I don't know about any of you, but the council president and I had ice cream to celebrate, so it was a lot of fun. And I beat her in the trivia contest. But I only came in second overall. It was very embarrassing, and she let me know how disappointed she was. So I'm here to introduce Faisal Amin as our Deputy Director for the Office of Management and Budget. Before I introduce Faisal, I wanted to take a moment and thank Josh Waters for his outstanding service in that role. We have a vacancy because Josh's life took him to Pompano Beach, Florida, where he is the manager of the city budget office. I think he said they have 3 departments and 3 employees in that office, but his family relocated for retirement, and so he is enjoying life in South Florida. So, because otherwise we would have loved to have Mr. Waters continue. But as we searched for a replacement, we have a unique candidate in Faisal Amin. Mr. Amin is a resident of Germantown, He is a native of California, who wound up coming east to serve the federal government, like many people in our community. He has held a number of key roles, as you've noticed in his resume, at the federal level in the White House, helping to run the administration of the White House in both the Obama and Biden administrations. He has worked for the Government Accounting Office. And most recently, over the last several years, was the Chief Financial Officer of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. So then when we talked to Faisal about this opportunity, I told him he's going to have to get used to a few fewer zeros in the budget documents that he has to review. His wife is a teacher with MCPS. He has two sons, one already graduating MCPS at the University of Maryland and one at Seneca Valley High School. So he has connections to our county. He's lived in our county for quite some time, but he also brings with him a degree of experience in budgeting at the highest levels in a variety of complex organizations. So we look forward to using his talents and experience at the federal level, informing how we can continue to grow and improve our budget operation. His experience, and one of the things that struck me was the amount of work that he did training and mentoring young analysts to grow into positions of authority within the federal government, and now he's going to bring those skills to us. So with that, I will be happy to turn it over to our OMB director if Ms. Bryant has anything to add.
Good morning, council members. I really don't have a whole lot to add to what CEO Madaleno said. We are excited to have some fresh energy in OMB, and we know Faisal will do well. We've got everything set up, so we're anxiously waiting. And I do want to highlight some of the skills that he brings to our office, and we are looking forward to some more growth in our metrics area, and also mentoring those junior analysts to be leaders, future leaders in the county. I can do the job, but it's a better job when it's done shared by two people. So we are excited to have him and are ready to welcome him to OMB and Montgomery County.
Great. Thank you very much, Ms. Bryant, and thank you for the excellent work that you are doing. We appreciate it. Mr. Amin, I have just a few questions for you, and then we'll open it up to my colleagues for questions. My first question is, what is your understanding of the Deputy Director for Results in the Office of Management and Budget, and share how your skills and expertise are aligned with the office's mission in this position?
Thank you so much, Madam President, for your question. Madam President, Mr. Vice President, County Council members, I so appreciate the opportunity to apply for this position. I'm grateful to the county executive for his nomination, to Rich and Jenny for their really kind words, and if confirmed, I really look forward to serving my community, serving our shared community for this in this position, and I greatly appreciate the opportunity today to share my interest and experience for the role. Madam President, you asked about the role and my preparedness for it. The Deputy Director, under the direction of the Director, oversees the planning and deployment of the county's resources that align with the county executive's priorities and agenda. This includes preparing budget materials, both for a recommendation to the county executive, as well as this legislative body, developing strategies to implement those budget priorities, and then also providing accurate and timely information to all stakeholders, including this legislative body and our fellow residents. Being approved for this position would allow me to contribute in my own community after 2 decades of financial management experience. All of my experience thus far, as Rich has mentioned, has been at the federal level. Mostly, I'm an appropriations law geek, and so that means that I've been writing legislation and providing technical assistance both to federal agencies and members and committees of Congress, providing informal guidance, and providing technical assistance as well. I've also served as Chief Financial Officer in 2 federal entities, both at the White House during the Obama administration, and then at the Environmental Protection Agency, as Rich mentioned, during the Biden administration. This means that I have extensive experience in budgeting, financial management, strategic planning, continuous improvement, stakeholder engagement, financial systems, and engaging with the legislature as well. I look forward to using those skills that I've honed over 2 decades to meet the priorities that are set forth by this legislative body, that meet the county executive's priorities, and basically whatever Rich and Jenny tell me to do.
Thank you. My second question is, what is your management style and how will you approach leading the staff in OMB and collaborating with the directors and leadership across the different departments and agencies?
Madam President, I'm so excited by that question because that is something that I care about the most. First, before I tell you my management style, if I can tell you my management philosophy, ultimately, the goal is to bring out the best in every individual based on their capacity and their interest. My goal every day is to help each colleague exceed his or her own expectations. The way I do this, my management style begins by creating a sense of belonging. After all, if someone feels like they belong in a community, they can do their best work when they don't have to worry about how other people are pronouncing their names or how their hair looks or what they feel like when they're on camera on a Teams meeting or something like that. They can do their best work. I want to create an environment where everyone's voice is valued, where people can raise questions and dissenting opinions and competing theories and feel heard without feeling judged, where people aren't afraid to make mistakes. They don't hoard information, and they always seek to do their best. My goal is to create an environment within the Office of Management and Budget where people feel pride in this critical mission, because after all, this serves our fellow county residents and provides the best services to them. And also, I'd like to create an environment where our goal every day is to provide timely, actionable feedback in all directions, whether vertically or horizontally amongst team members, where we create a community of trust, because that's what makes an organization work best. Speaking of trust, you asked about how to work with other organizations within government. Building a community of trust across government entities is critical to being able to be successful. As I've shared with you, Madam President, the communication and collaboration is key to achieving that. So not hoarding information, making sure that information is transparent, that we develop a partnership, that every proposal is heard and valued and properly vetted for our office to make recommendations to the county executive before presenting a budget to this legislative body. So that's how I plan to approach management within the Office of Management and Budget, and then coordinating across government agencies.
Great, thank you. My next question, what are your experiences with addressing racial equity and social justice disparities through budgets and programs, and how will you enhance the county's racial equity and social justice efforts through this position?
Thank you so much for your question, Madam President. Working towards racial equity and social justice has been a cornerstone of my career. Let me give you 3 recent examples. In the Biden administration, the Environmental Protection Agency created a new office called the Office of Environmental Justice and External Civil Rights, a critical office whose purpose is to serve the most under-resourced, underserved, and overburdened communities around the country. It was my job to, in a divided Congress, gain approval to create that office. Importantly, in engaging in a macro activity like that, it's important to communicate to members of the legislative body, in that case, the United States Congress, that these issues affect all people in each of their districts, and that the goal is to make sure that communities that have been overrun and overburdened for decades receive the resources that they need to build resilient infrastructure, like how we advocated for resilient infrastructure funds following hurricanes like Helene, last year. Importantly, on a micro level, I also appreciate the opportunity to engage in these initiatives on a more tactile level. For example, after Congress passed the two of the largest investments in history, and definitely two of the largest investments in EPA's mission in the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act and the Inflation Reduction Act, I recognized that there would be grantees and other stakeholders who've never received federal funds before. And importantly, there are many requirements for meeting those, the needs of those federal funds. So we provided technical assistance to communities that hadn't previously received funds. When it comes to, we talked a little bit about performance management. We provided technical assistance grants to develop performance evaluation and evidence-based strategies for their decision making. In addition, I've been engaged greatly in issues related to Alaska, where things like melting permafrost result in sinking homes and community buildings. Most importantly, I focused on an area where the federal government provided contaminated lands to Alaska Native villages. And it was a really important initiative to me and to my colleagues to focus $300 million on remediating that land for a key constituency to those Alaska Native villages. So those are the types of experiences that I bring. And going forward, it's going to be important to remember that these issues that you raised are a priority for this legislative body and the county executive, and will be a primary foundation for how we make budgetary recommendations.
Great, thank you so much. What are the specific steps you will take in the first year to enhance the county's measurement of performance and outcomes through its budget review?
Thank you so much for your question. I know I say that I'm excited about every question, but this is you're talking to a budget and performance geek, right? So I'm going to be excited about these questions. The bottom line is, Madam President, we have a tremendous responsibility to invest our fellow residents' tax dollars in the most prudent fashion. So when it comes to measuring performance, ensuring we employ evidence-based decision-making, and deploying continuous improvement tools, that is the key to making sure that we can show our fellow county residents that we are most effectively utilizing their tax dollars. As a newcomer to this office, I do want to acknowledge that before I make sweeping declarations of how I'm going to change everything, sorry, Jenny, I'd like to learn the practices of the current office. But I do understand that the county stat team has worked hard to incorporate a rigorous program evaluation practice. And that program evaluation practice has been critical to yielding information that provides key recommendations both to the county executive and the county council. But what I can, that's not an attempt to skirt your question, I can tell you what I've done in the past. In my past office, I brought disparate offices related to strategic planning and performance management, continuous improvement, and program evaluation together. Whereas before they worked independently, bringing them together helps us set goals, measure our achievement towards those goals, think about how we deploy continuous improvement tools to achieve those goals, and think about how we make using important evidence, how we make decisions as an organization to best use taxpayer dollars. Because ultimately, going through the motions is not enough. Using the most effective strategies to best utilize taxpayer dollars is the most important. I also held what used to be monthly desk officer briefings with our analysts to talk about each individual program, how they created goals and measures to achieving those goals, and how they were making progress to achieving those goals. Based on feedback that maybe I created too many meetings, we moved those meetings quarterly. I only mention that not as a joke, but to talk about how it's important to get regular feedback from the affected offices and desk officers and analysts on what is the most effective time strategy in visiting and revisiting those goals. And then lastly, we set up quarterly performance reviews. Granted, there's a federal statute that requires them, but we set up quarterly performance reviews to present to the chief administrative officer and the chief operating officer how individual offices were meeting their various goals. So working on performance management issues is an area that is of great interest to me.
Thank you. My final question before I turn it over to colleagues is, do you have any potential conflicts of interest of which the council should be aware?
Not that I know of. Thank
Great.
you so much for your question.
Thank you so much. I'll first turn it over to Councilmember Glass. Oh, is it? Oh, it's better.
Now I know where the technical difficulty is coming from.
It was technically a difficult.
Welcome back from recess, everybody. Mr. Amin, welcome. I need more coffee. I appreciated your presentation, and you kept us on your toes by having each question be more excited than the previous one, and hopefully this one doesn't disappoint either. But I very much appreciate the perspective, not only as a lifelong or 20-year-long resident here in the county and having a family, and your perspective on Capitol Hill and with the appropriations process. Unlike what's happening down on Capitol Hill, we have a functioning government, and we need it to be functioning, and that is critical to your role. And my question is one of reality. We don't know what's coming next. There is a cliff that looms over the next few weeks, just a few miles down the road. And should something happen with the operations of the government, should another spending bill be moved through that further reduces funding for programs that we rely on and that our residents rely on, share with us your thought process on an unknown future. One where your work and the one of your team is going to be so critically important to the 1.1 million residents, and the thoughts that go through that decision making and advice to the executive and all of us when we're faced with tough realities.
Thank you so much for your question, Council Member. I really appreciate it. First, when thinking more broadly and thematically, the wonderful thing about living in Montgomery County and Montgomery County's budget is this $7.5 billion budget reflects the important priorities of the county executive and this important body. When it comes to our budget, 2/3 of it goes to schools, public safety, health and human services, with healthy investments in libraries and parks and economic development. These are the things that make Montgomery County a great place to live and continue going forward. You're right that this is a time of tremendous transition, not only within this county, but across the state of Maryland and around the country as well. And it's important for Montgomery County to be ready to be able to answer the particular needs and changes as they may occur, not just at the end of the fiscal year when everything hits the news, but then throughout. Montgomery County is really great in that it has a very agile process, not only in the annual budget process, but then through supplemental needs as well. And so through that agile process, I know that the Office of Management and Budget and can make recommendations to the county executive to meet those needs as they may occur throughout the fiscal year and not just in one go, but then and then provide critical information, real-time information to the county council as well. As we see more and more effects of cut federal contracts, layoffs, and continued administrative leave for federal employees, that's going to directly impact our fellow residents in Montgomery County, and that's when our priorities are going to be tested the most. And it's important that we remain steadfast in protecting not only people of all types within Montgomery County, whether they live in Dickerson or Silver Spring, Damascus to Potomac, and it's important that we meet the diverse needs and continue to be agile in our process.
Appreciate that and agree with those sentiments. Your expertise in federal budgeting, I think, will serve us extremely well during these tenuous times. I look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Vice President Giwando.
Thank you. Good morning and welcome. We're glad that you're here. I don't know how you left EPA. I know you left in January 2025. Whether it was voluntary or involuntary doesn't matter, but we're glad that you are here. We've all been engaged in efforts to make sure that we take our federal government employees who have a bunch of service, particularly those who live in the county, and making sure that we open doors for them here. So I'm just so glad that you've stepped in with all your experience. The question I was going to ask kind of builds off a question, your answer to Councilmember Glass's question. We are in an unprecedented time with the bill that was passed at the federal level, the largest transfer of wealth from low income to higher income individuals in the history of the country, and the impact that that's going to have on Medicaid recipients, SNAP, go down the list, some of our most vulnerable residents. You said it's important to be ready to meet the needs throughout the fiscal year, and I agree with that statement. And you talked about the agile process that we have. In previous years, there has been some discussion about moving to a 2-year budget cycle. I think what you just described to me seems like that might not be what you think is good. But I want to ask you that question. Do you think the year-to-year is the way to go? And then a secondary 1B or 1A of that question is the supplemental appropriation process, which you mentioned, which again is something that is utilized. I know you're coming from the world of continuing resolutions and the government shutting down and in some years when budgets aren't even passed, but obviously we always pass a budget here. What is your philosophy here at the local government level, given our context? Do you think that's a good system to stay in the year-to-year, as I think you suggested, and the nature of supplementals, when and how often they should be used based on the needs? I think you kind of answered it, but I want to allow you to elaborate on that.
Mr. Vice President, thank you so much for your question and a philosophical budget question. So I hope you've booked the next 2 hours because there are lots. Thank you for that guidance.
Sure.
Mr. Vice President, you talked about the budget this summer about being a moral and economic imperative for our county. And I think that the priorities that I discussed with Councilmember Glass reflect that critical feeling about this budget related to our fellow county residents. And as you mentioned earlier here, that we open doors to everyone. I'm not trying to dance around your question. The answer really is, and I know Councilmember Albornoz may have talked about this as well, a 2-year budget gives some stability and flexibility to county governments. That said, we all work in an environment with individual stakeholder interests, and as much as people propose 2-year budgets to provide that stability, in the end, the loss of control often makes it difficult for legislators and executive branch entities to ultimately adopt a 2-year process. Speaker Ryan, when he was Speaker of the House, had looked into different opportunities, had looked into a 2-year budgeting cycle for the federal government as well. But in the end, Congress didn't want to give up the control to be able to do this year over year. The downside is you have the continuing resolutions that you mentioned year over year and fiscal cliffs year over year. That said, although 2 years a 2-year cycle may provide some stability and an opportunity to see. We talked about performance measures and performance results, may give us a longer lead time to see the results of investments in our community. When working with real life issues and people, they may have difficulty giving up that flexibility. When it comes to the supplemental process, relatedly, the supplemental process does allow us to not only revisit the budget every year, but every couple of months as well. And so it is something that the nature of the supplementals, as you had asked, allow us to be able to meet needs in real time. But then if you would like to study changing the supplemental process or changing the annual cycle for budgets, I'm sure we'd be. Wait, am I allowed to promise something, Jenny? Well, I'm sure we'd be delighted to study it and provide you further recommendations.
Thank you. I appreciate the question and look forward to voting for you and discussing these things with you further. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Mink.
Well, I no longer have a question that hasn't been asked, but I stayed in the queue because I just wanted to express that I'm really excited about this nomination. Point after point that you have made is so aligned with what this moment calls for, with the priorities that we have here at Montgomery County. And we as a county have a tremendous opportunity at this moment. And we're really seeing, the separation of the wheat from the chaff with local governments across the country right now. And so having the right people in the right places to meet this moment and to not just make it through it, but to find ways to thrive at this time. That's what we want to do here. And I'm hearing that you have the tools, the expertise, and the drive to make that happen. And I very much appreciate the work that you did while you were where you were. And you just gave us a few examples, but the establishment of the EJ department within the federal government, I will note, has been incredibly important, and I have used that myself. I sit on MWAC, and we established an EJ subcommittee, and we were able to use the existence and the work of the EJ office that you helped bring to fruition to be able to set that up to be something strong and tangibly useful to advance our priorities, within the SIP hopefully, and across the DMV area. So thank you very much for that. I look forward to voting for you and to working with this very strong team. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Albanese.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning, Mr. Amin. It's great to see you. I really, truly enjoyed our conversation, which went way over the allotted time because it was so fruitful. And I really appreciated your responses. But for the purposes of the public, I'm going to ask you a similar question to the one I asked when we met privately. So I've had the opportunity to see how the sausage is made budgetarily on both sides of the aisle, and the relationship between OMB and not just executive branch agencies, but sister county agencies. And that partnership is so important, particularly during difficult times. And it's all largely based on trust and communication. Could you talk about what strategies you will use working with Director Bryant and the team to ensure that trust, because we know trouble lies ahead budgetarily and difficult decisions are going to have to be made?
Councilmember Albornoz, thank you so much for meeting with me last week, and I appreciate your question here. Importantly, the key to success between the executive branch and the legislative branch and in serving all of our fellow county residents is to create an environment of trust that is built on communication and coordination between our offices. When you need information to be able to make critical decisions for our fellow county residents, you should be able to count on the Office of Management and Budget to provide you timely, accurate, actionable guidance. And the county executive should be able to count on us to provide timely, actionable, accurate, that was not in the same order, recommendations so that he can make decisions for our fellow county residents. What you can count on from the Office of Management and Budget under Jenny's leadership, and if I'm confirmed for this position, is regular communication between our offices, and in a way that not only provides proactive information so that you can make important decisions, but also responsive information when you ask for particular issues. You will be able to count on this office to provide, in the changing environment that we've been talking about throughout the course of this meeting, new recommendations that meet the needs of the moment. And I look forward to working on continuing to build that trust that Jenny has laid the foundation for, and between our offices.
Great. And among executive branch agencies within county government, could you talk about that too?
Absolutely. You know, so often I'm not just talking about on shows like Veep or something like that. There's information hoarding to be able to increase power. That will never happen in the Office of Management and Budget. Our goal is to make sure that we listen to the needs of the various our sister government agencies, to be able to properly evaluate the needs and the requests of those government agencies, to make recommendations based on our expertise, and to be able to listen to dissenting views and differing views, and then to be able to make recommendations to the county executive and then present a budget to you all that meets the needs of those agencies. We'll do that with regular communication, with trusting communication as well, and then always with a reminder that ultimately county resources are finite. And we should remember that if something cannot be funded in 1 year, perhaps there could be partial funding, it could be a staggered funding, it could be the important factor is to remember is for building the trust with each agency such that they know that their priorities matter because they're representing our county residents, and we will always do our best to meet that need.
Great. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Lukey.
Thank you, Madam President. First off, good for you for trying to speak in triplicate and repeat it in exactly the same order, which is a great way for people to remember things that you're saying. It's a fundamental trial lawyer tactic, and I'm going to go, you got an A on that one. And for the Veep reference, because not everybody can work that into an interview question. But I just want to say how much I appreciate you putting yourself forward for this position, your openness, your candor, and I know you and I spoke on Friday. And I think you prepared for that meeting by knowing more about me than I could even remember about myself, which speaks to how you approach your work. And your responses to my colleagues' questions thus far today have been akin to the way you answered my questions on Friday. And your humbleness, as well as your self-professed nerdiness and geekiness over fiscal topics, brings joy to my heart. Your approach on recognizing the need to not have silos in government, because that serves no one, and your sincerity about that is greatly appreciated. So I firmly support your nomination. I'm eager to have you on board, and thank you for your service to the country, and hopefully shortly to Montgomery County. Thank you.
Councilmember Sales.
Thank you, and welcome, Mr. Amin. I too enjoyed our conversation yesterday and wanted to circle back on a question we discussed about technology in the workplace and how you plan to assess or implement financial tools and software to improve efficiency and accuracy in budget management and in making projections. I mean, coming from the federal government, you understand all too well the fiscal implications that are upon us here at the local level and the trickle-down effect, and the important decisions we're going to be making over the next year ahead of our budget. With the increasing demands of our schools, our social safety nets, and so with, the rise in AI and other technologies, it would be helpful to understand how you would assess or implement such technologies in this environment.
Councilmember Sales, thank you so much for your question, and I appreciated the opportunity to speak with you yesterday. As we discussed, your previous statement about developing a resilient budget that meets the diverse needs of this community resonates with me greatly, and I look forward to working with you, if confirmed, for this position. Software tools are critical for geeky offices like ours to be able to make accurate, timely, actionable, same triplicate, recommendations to the county executive and provide you information to make important decisions for our fellow county residents. In my previous roles, it's important to invest in, as your question suggests, it's important to be able to make key investments in the software as it continues to develop, to be able to meet the needs of the current moment, not just rely on software that we've used for decades before. Importantly, I look forward to joining the team and learning the software systems that are currently in use. I really do appreciate, as a current county resident and a longtime county resident, I love how the budget information is published and easily accessible. So kudos to Jenny and your team. That pie chart is a fantastic thing, and the clickable links on the county budget, you can geek out for hours there. But it's critical to continue to make software investments to be the most effective team to be able to make those recommendations that you were talking about. What I've done in the past is implemented tools like robotics process automation, that where computer software mimics a human to be able to take on actions. And what that does is it decreases the amount of time to prepare analyses and take action, and increases and decreases error and increases effectiveness and efficiency. When it comes to the next step, which, as you referred to, is artificial intelligence tools, the key for all government entities, including a budget office, is not to be afraid of artificial intelligence tools, to take measured approaches to be able to properly leverage AI and other software tools to continue to be able to perform our important function. The key to remember going forward, and I recognize, the big fear is when the computers become self-aware, and I've watched Terminator 2 or the Terminator movies many times. But the key thing to remember is how can humans best utilize this software to best make analyses and make recommendations for the county executive and this legislative body. And AI tools will help us in the next phases, especially given the uncertainty that so many of you started off with, Councilmember Glass talked about. So I really look forward to learning the particular tools that the county currently uses and thinking about how we can continue to enhance those tools going forward.
Thank you so much, Mr. Amin. Looking forward to working with you as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Amin, for answering all of our questions today. Thank you, Ms. Bryant and Mr. Madaleno. I think you're staying with us, but I appreciate you taking the time today, and we hope to have you confirmed soon. I think you've heard from many of my colleagues, and we look forward to starting the work together. Thank you very much. Have a great day. All right, next we have another interview, and this is for the county executive's nominee for Assistant Chief Administrative Officer. We have Luisa Cardona with us, and Ms. Cardona is no stranger to this body. Welcome to you, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Madaleno to introduce you.
Thank
Though
you.
she really needs no introduction.
Thank you very much, Madam
That wasn't
President.
assigned to keep it short.
I know, but just to remind people, but thank you very much. Before I talk about Ms. Cardona, again, I also want to thank Sonia Mora for her 35 years of service to the Montgomery County government. We're here today before you because Sonia selfishly decided to retire. And, during her career, she started in HIV/AIDS outreach, doing street outreach with our Department of Health. I think she even started before we had a Department of Health and Human Services. So she almost single-handedly brought together the Latino Health Initiative, led it through the pandemic, and incredible accomplishments for our community during the pandemic. And we were very fortunate that she was willing to join the Office of the County Executive as the Assistant Chief Administrative Officer. So Sonia and Gustavo will be missed in our community. And I want to thank Sonia for her years of service and her years of partnership and friendship for me. So with that, we're very fortunate to have Louisa Cardona stepping up in this role. All of you know Louisa from her current responsibilities as the Mid-County Regional Services Director. Louisa has been with the county since 2021, so in that role. So 5 years? Wow, four years. God, I'm glad I wasn't nominated to be Deputy Director of OMB. So, Louisa has distinguished herself in that role, helping on so many issues, not just in the Mid-County, but countywide. She joined us from the city government of Atlanta, where she was both director or deputy director of the Mayor's Office of Immigration Affairs. Louisa is originally from, well, she had done her education in Georgia, graduated from Georgia State, came to our area to go to the American University Law School, wound up working for CASA. Family brought her back to Georgia and now back to our area. We're thrilled that she's willing to step up into this leadership role for the entire county government as an assistant CAO. She'll be responsible, if you're interested, and probably some of you have talked about it, the same portfolio that Sonia had, liaison with Montgomery County Public Schools, with Montgomery College, and helping overall guidance and interaction with HHS, with the Department of Recreation, the Department of Public Libraries. So she'll play a critical role in many of the services that we provide to our youth, families, children across the county. She's already been a great addition to the Office of County Executive. She's a Silver Spring resident, 2 kids with Montgomery County Public Schools. So with that, we respectfully ask for your confirmation quickly for the second time of Louisa Cardona.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Cardona, for joining us today. Again, I have a couple of questions, and then I'll turn it over to colleagues. Just to kick us off, can you please tell us specifically what is your background and which of your qualifications make you an ideal candidate for the role of Assistant Chief Administrative Officer?
Thank you. Council President Stewart, and thank you, Montgomery County Council, for having me here today. It's really an honor to be considered for the position of Assistant Chief Administrative Officer with a portfolio, as Rich mentioned, that includes libraries, recreation, children, health, and family services, Montgomery College, MCPS. Really, I think it's one of the best portfolios that could exist in terms of the services, as well as the current directors and the superintendent and those leading those departments are great to work with. I also want to thank Rich and the county executive for your confidence in me. It means a lot, as well as equally recognize Sonia for all of her time, her dedication, but also her incredible mentorship of me throughout this time. It really was amazing, and I wouldn't be here without her. It's been a true honor to serve as the Mid-County Regional Service Director for the last 4 years, and I'm grateful for what the community, the businesses, the nonprofits, my colleagues, and my team have taught me about resilience, collaboration, and most importantly, the power of listening. I also want to thank Mid-County Council, the council members that touch the Mid-County area, Councilmember Natalie Fanny Gonzalez, Councilmember Don Lutke, Councilmember Kristen Mink, and your teams, your staff, for the collaboration and the partnership throughout that time. I will say that the role of Mid-County Regional Director has allowed me to see the direct on-the-ground impacts of what our departments and our policies do in communities. It showed me the true value of substantive community engagement, as well as when we don't do it, what happens, and how we all really pay for it when we don't have that great community engagement, and what happens when our departments work in silos, as has already been mentioned here before. I welcome now the opportunity to take a broader approach and strategic to work across departments to address the very challenges that I saw as a regional director, and to ensure that our services are more coordinated and more effective for all of our residents. I also believe that my background as an attorney, as an immigrant immigration policy leader also brings critical insights to navigate the complex federal landscape that we're now facing. These combined experience, my legal, policy, and community engagement, I believe equip me to serve strategically as a CAO and compassionately.
Thank you. My second question is, if appointed, what do you see as your top priorities?
As noted before, I believe one of my top priorities has to be navigating the federal impacts on our communities, on our departments. These federal changes are particularly impacting our most vulnerable communities, including our new arrivals. And the federal shifts have and will continue to create local service gaps, and I want to ensure that we are coordinated and proactive and responsive in closing those gaps. Another priority will be, as I noted before, aligning our services across our departments, across libraries, recreation, health, MCPS, Montgomery colleges, so that our families experience seamless support and services. I see, honestly, incredible opportunities for cross-collaboration among all of our departments, particularly around youth resiliency and mental health, which remain urgent needs for our county. Another priority for me will be to build greater relationships with MCPS. I really appreciate Elba Garcia from MCPS being here, as well as to really understand the budget, both the operating and the capital budget of MCPS, so I can better understand how we can help respond to those community questions and parent questions, which come from me as well. Another focus is early childhood education. This has been something that Bibi Ortero led within this county for many years. And if any of you know Bibi, you know she will not let me, leave that behind. It is so critical that we focus on the earliest of our kids, early intervention, because that is when the greatest impacts can happen. And finally, I know that was mentioned before, but I will take new policy priorities as directed by Rich Madaleno with input from County Council and the County Executive. I think, as Faisal said, you do what you're told as well. My role, though, will be to listen first, assess the greatest needs, and then work with departments and partners to deliver results.
Thank you. On which policy issues will you focus, and how do you plan on engaging with external partners to develop plans for change and progress in those areas?
I think policy priorities will continue to evolve, particularly in a sporadic and random federal environment, which has kept us all on our toes. But I see opportunities to really strengthen our out-of-school time programming, to address our health disparities, and to ensure that our library and recreation resources are meeting the needs of our diverse and multilingual communities. I think it's one of the greatest honors to me to work in a county that has a minority majority, the greatest in the United States, and to be able to work with departments to ensure that our services are reaching all of them. I also know that engagement is key. As regional director, I aim to build trust by showing up in community, and will continue that practice countywide, attending meetings, forums, so partners know they can have direct access to me. Visibility and approachability will be my standard. I will also rely on the relationships built by my colleagues as well as County Council to expand the network and identify gaps in partnerships. That way we are strengthening collaboration as well as bringing new voices, especially those that have historically been left out into the process of shaping the county. Our county is so diverse that there is always a new voice to be brought to the table.
Great. If appointed, how would you position this role to work on racial equity and social justice issues?
Particularly for me, racial equity and social justice is part of every aspect of the work. It is leading through that lens. In everything I do, that is one of the greatest things that I learned working in the community engagement cluster with such amazing colleagues who have always led with that lens of work, particularly the Office of Community Partnerships. And working very closely with the Office of Tiffany Ward, the Office of Racial Equity and Social Justice, as well as your incredible social justice team here, who the Office of Legislative Oversight report on community engagement and social justice is honestly, like, I always have it on top of my desk because it is always top of mind in terms of to really have effective equity. We need that substantive community engagement and a movement from the county that we have so many boards, so many commissions, so many meetings. It's amazing. But are we truly allowing those voices to lead decision-making processes? And to me, that is the key to effective social justice and racial equity, is ensuring that the departments that I work with are bringing voices of diverse communities to the table before decisions are made. That is the critical component. I know it's changing a lot. I know it takes more work, but to me, in the long run, it pays off much more than if we did not include people in the room at the beginning.
Great. My last question is, are there any potential conflicts of interest of which we should be aware?
None that I know of.
Great. Thank you. I will now turn to colleagues. Council Vice President Jawando.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning, Ms. Cardona. Good to see you. It was great to be with you in Damascus. You're already hit the ground running in the interim role or acting role, and a lot of the areas you cover are things that our committee is involved in as far as education and early childhood education, along with the HHS committee. And it's been a joy to work with you in my role as an at-large council member. Just seeing you in Mid-County, you are present. You're engaged, you care about this community, and I'm really excited to help you do your job well and be a partner in that work. And so we've already been doing it, and I don't have a question. I just am excited, and I want to say congratulations in advance and look forward to working with you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilmember Sales.
Thank you, Ms. Cardona, and I too just want to echo the sentiments of my colleague. I have enjoyed working with you. We had a very thorough conversation about the skills and experience that you'll bring to the entire county, and working with our CAO, Madaleno, already. I think this will be an excellent complement to the role, and excited for you to hit the ground running, and look forward to working with you as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Malcolm.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So nice to see you. So I think that your being in the role of Regional Services Center Director will make you succeed in any role in the government, because I know how difficult that role is and how many different issues Regional Services Center Director deals with on a daily basis. So I appreciate that background, and I know how hard all of you work. So I appreciate that. And I also, in our one-on-one meeting, I was really glad to see just the knowledge that you had about my district and all the the library, the impact of library, schools, what's going to happen in the CIP. So I appreciate that work. And just a question, more of an elaboration. I think that the issue that you brought up about making sure that you have new voices, that we have new voices at the table, it's something that each one of us works on every day in trying to reach our constituents and making sure that voices are heard. So can you just elaborate on how, in your portfolio, how you will go about making sure that you're hearing from people that we normally don't hear from?
To me, it starts by going to non-traditional places. So I don't think the expectation was ever for me as regional director that they were going to come into the office, because if you guys have been into that building, it's really hard to get in there. But really being in community. So everything from going to the high school football game to going to the laundromat and speaking with individuals. I think it is one of the most critical things we have to think about are the barriers that communities are facing in engagement, right? Working multiple jobs, language access, childcare. So those are barriers that individuals have to overcome in order to participate effectively in the democratic process. But what we as leaders can do is help overcome barriers by meeting them where they are. Are you already at your child's school? Are you already at the bus stop waiting for multiple buses when we're getting, input on how bus routes will change? I know that all of the regional directors and all of us at CEC do this, but every department that we go to, when we have these conversations, they say, how can we engage community? For us, it always starts with like, don't expect them to come to a meeting in a government building that takes place during the day potentially, or if it does take place at night, there's no dinner, there's no childcare, right? Because then you will not have certain voices in the room. And that is another key aspect, that asking all departments, okay, you've conducted this community engagement, but who wasn't in the room, who will be impacted by not taking action, and who will be impacted by you not taking action?
Councilmember Albanaz.
Thank you, Madam President. Ms. Cardona, it's great to see you. So all of us have enjoyed working with you all these years, and we all have positive experiences to share. I have many constituent issues that you've helped our office with over the years and have really problem solved. So it is the perfect background to be an effective Assistant Chief Administrative Officer, which is really the role of a firefighter in many ways, because that's a lot of the job, is just putting out fires within executive branch agencies. And as we know, there will be many more of them for the foreseeable future. And as we discussed a couple of weeks ago, the job on a good day is difficult, but can get pretty overwhelming pretty fast. How do you plan on trying to prioritize so that you make sound decisions and are helping to advise the executive branch agencies that you're helping to coordinate? It's a unique perch because you're able to see a broader landscape than these various departments. What strategies will you use or have you used to try and help make sure that things are a little bit more clear for everyone?
Yeah. I would certainly say that the role as regional director helped prepare us for that. I know Jacob and I started at the same time, and I think the first year we all said we're drinking from a fire hose and we do not know what is happening. But I think that now I'm better prepared, and one of the key things to that is honestly the colleagues, relying on Ken Hartman, relying on Earl, relying on Rich, to say, hey, all of these things are happening. What should I prioritize? What needs to be done? As well as really relying on the department directors. These departments all have incredible directors, as well as the chief, Lori in Children, Youth, and Family Services, of going to them and really listening to their feedback, because they know their department better than anyone, and relying on them to help navigate that is key. And of course, we cannot forget Fariba, who has been my boss for so many years and guided me in so many ways. Thank you, Reg. We cannot forget Fariba. No, but she is really that person that we had to go to as regional directors. So like, okay, troubleshoot. And she continues to do that for me now. And she continues to flag things that I would have never seen before. And then all of you here, right? You always help lead the priorities, to help identify things that are bubbling up in communities that we are not seeing. And so having that constant active communication with you and your staff, I think, is key for that.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Friedson.
Thank you so much. It's great to have you here. It's been great working together with you in so many different ways. And you're moving from one utility player job to another utility player job. The Regional Service Center Director is very much other duties as assigned as the largest ledger on the job assignments. And this is a similar role in that sense, where you don't really know what your job is going to be until you show up to work that day and you get the emails and the texts and the phone calls, and whether it's coming from inside the government, from a colleague, or whether it's coming from the community or a partner. So appreciate that. I think that, the role that you're coming from is a good backdrop and a good background for it, and I think your experience really helps with that. I'm just curious your approach. I think the most important aspect of this job is both to be able to navigate within county government, but also to be able to have the relationships outside county government. One of the challenges that we have is this major disconnect, communication issues, challenges with the partnerships that we have. How are you going to approach that? What have you learned in your current role as Regional Service Director of some of the things that haven't worked and aren't working that you can move into this role and help to improve upon as we move forward, particularly as it relates to the connection between what's happening inside county government among all the amazing colleagues you just talked about, and all that's happening and all the needs outside of county government, where our county and community partners are really doing much of the work that we need on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, that is a great question, because it is one of the greatest obstacles to effectively doing this job. One key piece of advice that I got from Bibi Otero, she's like, book a time in your calendar to make calls, to reach out to these partners. And what I've also learned as a regional director is communicating, right? Like, whether I believe something is substantive to share or not, over communicating to these partners so that they see that same way back, right? Over communicate with me, because we don't know what is going to bubble up, what is going to be that key issue. And so being that person that is constantly there, showing up, calling, hey, how's it going? What's going on? Anything new? Having these consistent meetings with our key partners, MCPS, Montgomery College, ensuring that attending the board meetings and being in those spaces to listen when key things pop up. I know that often with regional director role, that is what Rich would always say, like, so what's bubbled up, what's going on? And we meet with the entire executive team bi-weekly to share those issues. And so ensuring that I'm doing that across and taking that leadership strategy that Rich has implemented of saying, what's going on? What is bubbling up? And constantly asking that question, whether or not you're prepared for the answer, right? Because I think we also have to be ready that what is shared won't always be positive, and it is critical that they're still willing to share those things directly with us.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Mink.
This is another nomination that I'm excited about, because I think that the perspective and the philosophy that you bring is very much what this moment needs right now as well. Things are changing so quickly, and the needs, urgent needs that become urgent at such a rapid pace is it's really something that could leave us with a lot of gaps that span much too long a period of time if we're not very plugged in at the ground. And so, this administration prioritizing having people in leadership who have demonstrated that they are plugged in and that is part of the work, that's a very good thing. Additionally, as we have talked about, our resources to fill those gaps are only going to be getting tighter. We're going to have to find ways to be very creative and look for ways to do more with less. The good news is that we're in Montgomery County, where there are a lot of people who look to contribute in a lot of different ways. And often in these times of high stress and high trauma, we see communities who organized amongst themselves, who work to support each other. And we're seeing that here now. PTAs, volunteer groups, all neighborhood groups, all kinds of things are happening and being mobilized, and are starting to get looped into nonprofits bit by bit. But typically when we see this, it's totally siloed from the government, right? This is people responding to the government not doing enough, so we are going to try to find a way to help each other survive. And so what's special about Montgomery County is we can say we want to support that, we want to integrate that, we want to help you all help each other, and vice versa. And that's in part how we're going to get through this moment. So can you just speak to that a little bit? Whether it's your experiences with that or your thoughts about that moving forward, if you could just kind of speak to that idea, that'd be great.
Yeah, I would say one of the most wonderful things about this county is that our nonprofit sector is so rich, and that our community members are so active and dedicated to being within and working within their communities. And I think one of the key examples of where I've seen that is in the food hubs, right? In the distribution hubs. A food distribution line is not just a food, right? It is not a simple food interaction. I have seen it where We have brought in mobile health clinics, mobile dental clinics, know your rights presentations. I know that Councilmember Fanny Gonzalez hosted one at Hughes that was critical and highly attended by the community, right? All of these key pieces, and that when you're attending and you're simply passing out these badges, you're learning so much about this community. You're also learning so much about the programming that they're already doing, right? Everything from one person at one church, at one faith institution who said, hey, I'm gonna collect clothes. I'm gonna give out turkeys this year because I've realized a lot of people don't have them. And it is just an incredible thing to see. And I always feel so special when they call and say, hey, do you think you guys could help? And that expectation that I'm going to do this on my own, but like, would you like to be a part of this process? And being brought into that process is always so incredible. I also am thinking back to the Office of Community Partnership hosted a faith roundtable on addressing the federal challenges that we're currently facing and learning what all of these faith institutions are already actively doing is so incredible. And often seeing the role as government of saying, hey, all of you are doing the same thing. Let's connect you. And how much people really appreciate our role in being a connector, not just resources, but connecting people to already amazing, incredible things you're doing, especially as you noted, it's going to be a difficult time. It's already a very difficult time for nonprofits. And so that cross collaboration, those partnerships that they're able to bridge will be key to getting us through this part and create a more resilient county for all of us.
Thank you. I think that you hit the nail on the head. We're seeing, for example, now that I just heard about there's a neighborhood group, a group of neighbors who are now mobilizing. They're delivering groceries to some folks who are looking out the window and they're seeing it's not safe for me to exit the house right now. And so now there are neighbors who are pulling together groceries. And then we have one of the food hubs who has previously told other volunteers doing similar work, you know what, if you need food for families in that situation, just come take what you need for them. And so, we let this other group of parents know that opportunity is there and now they can take advantage of that as well. But if we think about the need to have there be a system so that it's not this one-off family here and this one-off neighborhood group here is benefiting, that we really have a system, I think that is a tremendous opportunity that's in front of us as a government to help to be that connector and be that systems builder, especially in this particular situation where you have, there are certain records that we don't need and we don't want and we're not going to ask for on the government side, but neighbors know who is who and who is where and have trusted relationships. And so figuring out the right ways to bring people together, just as you described, is exactly what needs to be done to expand this work. So thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Cardona, for stepping into this role. I know you've already hit the ground running, and so given what my colleagues have said today, I'm sure we'll move forward with your confirmation, and just really glad that we have you here at this time with not only your skill set, but as you said when you started, with your compassion. And how we all know you're going to approach this job. We feel very confident that you are the right person at this time. So thank you very much.
Really appreciate
Thank
that.
you, Mr. Madalino, for this morning. Now, colleagues, we are going to sit as the district council for a briefing on the University Boulevard Corridor Plan. And as Ms. Dunn and our colleagues from the Planning Board and Planning Department make their way down, I will note that the council has scheduled 2 public hearings on this matter. The first is tomorrow, September 10th at 7 p.m. at Montgomery Blair High School Auditorium. And the second is scheduled for September 16th at 7 p.m. here at the council office building. And when Ms. Dunn is ready, I think I will turn it over to her.
Good morning. Thank you, Council. We are pulling up the PowerPoint presentation that the Planning Department is going to give you this morning as part of their briefing on the University Boulevard Corridor Plan, sometimes referred to as the UBC Plan. And with that, there is also an embedded video. So we're just taking a couple of minutes here to get the IT stuff set up, and then we will get started.
We all set?
Good morning. Yes, we're going to start with a few introductory remarks by the Planning Board Chair and the Director and the Division Chief, Carrie Sanders, and then we will turn it over to the PowerPoint. We now have all the technology in order, so thank you for your patience.
Yeah. Yes. Good morning, Council President Stewart and members of the Council. I'm Artie Harris, Chair of the Montgomery County Planning Board. It's our delight to be here this morning to give you a briefing on the University Boulevard Corridor Plan. Planning Director Jason Sartori and Division Chief Carrie Sanders will introduce themselves for the record, and then the three of us will give you a brief overview, and then staff will dive deeply into this plan this morning.
Good morning, Council President Stewart, members of the County Council. I'm Jason Sartori, for the record, Planning Director.
Good morning, Carrie Sanders, East County Division Chief.
Yeah. As the county's planners, our mission is to develop a path forward that enhances the quality of life in all of our communities. We want to make it easier and safer for more people to comfortably live in the county and to thrive in their neighborhoods. This is what the University Boulevard Corridor Plan does. It looks toward the next 20 plus years and delivers recommendations that can improve everyone's experience along the corridor. And when I say corridor, I'm not just talking about a large and busy road. I'm talking about the connective tissue that links communities, cultures, and commerce. We're not just planning for cars. We're planning safe and appealing ways for kids, seniors, and everyone who walks, rolls, or rides transit to travel. The plan advances a vision that responds to community needs while also furthering countywide and regional goals to maintain Montgomery County's status as a great place to live, work, raise a family, and start or grow a business. I want to acknowledge all the staff and land use experts that worked on this plan. For more than 3 years, they engaged with the community to draft a plan that balances the community needs with the visions outlined in our general plan, Thrive Montgomery 2050, and other guiding plans. We look forward to working with the council through committee and council work sessions to adopt a plan that positions this vital corridor for success for decades to come. Thank you.
When I became Planning Director nearly 2 years ago, one of my first meetings was with the University Boulevard Corridor team. And that meeting was their opportunity to brief me on the plan and to give me their first initial sense of some of the recommendations that they were thinking about. And I challenged the team to be bold, to be creative, to be visionary, to stay true to our guiding principles that we have as a county, and to create a plan that was worthy of this diverse community. And also a plan that was worthy of setting a precedent as the first master plan that was prepared fully under the guidance of our new general plan, Thrive Montgomery 2050. And I'm proud to say that the team not only accepted, but that they met that challenge. This draft master plan creates a transformative vision for one of Montgomery County's most vital corridors. As you heard yesterday on our tour, transportation safety was one of the top concerns that we heard from the community during this process. Therefore, this plan prioritizes mobility and safety for everyone who uses the corridor, including the more than 6,000 students who travel along the corridor on any given school day. And in a few minutes, we'll show you a video that gives you a sense of that highlights that transportation safety concern. This plan reimagines the corridor as a safe, vibrant, and inclusive place for all who live, work, and travel along it today and in the future. It is a commitment to a more connected, resilient, and equitable University Boulevard community that helps to ensure its continued prosperity.
University Boulevard is an important part of living, working, and traveling in Montgomery County. So many people rely on it to get to their homes, schools, and their places of worship. Sadly, the corridor is not a safe place to travel. Since 2015, 4 people have been killed in traffic crashes on the corridor and 38 people have been severely injured. It is our responsibility to make it safer, which is what this plan does. This plan prioritizes transportation safety for children, seniors, and people with disabilities. That's consistent with the county's adopted Vision Zero action plan. If you have been on University Boulevard lately, you would see that one of the travel lanes in each direction is painted red. These lanes are dedicated for bus use, and it was a pilot project implemented by the Montgomery County Department of Transportation in coordination with the State Highway Administration and WMATA. And the University Boulevard plan actually recommends extending those red painted lanes through the Four Corners intersection to improve transportation in the region, but also in this area. The plan vision looks for a greener boulevard, one that has trees along the boulevard. It has grass between the cars and the people that are traveling by bike or rolling or walking. It envisions a greener boulevard that actually serves a community and a neighborhood that is there today and respects and builds up that community. It also envisions a boulevard where cars and buses can move without delay. We understand that this is an important transportation connection in the county, but we also want to make sure people that are trying to get to bus stops or trying to cross the street can do it safely, and that they're separated from the fast-moving traffic. To talk a little bit about housing, which is such an important part of our county policies, on the blocks that front University Boulevard, this plan recommends allowing property owners, if they wish to do so, to build different types of housing that can be built today. So in many parts of the boulevard, a single-family home is the only option that can be built. This plan allows more options. Generally, the buildings facing the corridor between the transit stations, the 5 stations, will have a height of up to 50 feet. And that height has to transition to 35 feet as the block faces the single-family neighborhoods that are beyond that first block. In commercial areas, such as Four Corners, a mix of land uses is proposed, and that involves taller buildings. And that is right near the transit stations as well. This kind of planning facilitates gradual growth near existing and planned transit while preserving neighborhood integrity. The plan keeps most of the existing detached residential properties in the plan area as detached residential zones. If approved, the plan's recommended zoning changes would not lead to change unless a property owner decides to pursue a development. To talk briefly about our community engagement, I will say that no master plan or policy is without a community voice. It is integral to the process, and it is something that we continue to do throughout the process. Recommendations that you see here today reflect 3 years of deep engagement with residents, businesses, and stakeholders. Planners reach businesses and residents where they are. We did extensive door knocking and canvassing. Those conversations were held in 6 languages, and we also engaged with historically underrepresented groups. We sent 10,000 mailings, and some of those mailings also involved notifying property owners of any zoning change on their property. We did that in English and Spanish. In addition, our planners hosted or participated in nearly 40 community meetings to talk about the plan. We conducted numerous one-on-one small group meetings with residents and community leaders, and back in February, the Planning Board held a public hearing that lasted over 3 hours. Planning staff worked diligently to address and integrate the community's input, as well as the written comments sent to the Planning Board. These perspectives are reflected in the draft plan, and the draft plan has been amended several times to specifically address community concerns. Our approach to land use planning emphasizes transparency to ensure residents understand zoning changes and can voice their concerns effectively. Thank you.
Through this plan, we have fulfilled the vision that you and prior councils have laid out for us. At the planning department, we're dreamers. We envision the future and what's possible. The recommendations in this plan represent a long-term vision shaped by major initiatives, programs, and policies that you've directed us to pursue. It implements the vision and recommendations of our general plan by prioritizing compact growth along a transit corridor with an improved design that will improve mobility and safety. It advances the goals that the Council has established in its commitment to Vision Zero. It takes a thoughtful approach to tackling our housing crisis by increasing density along the corridor near transit to help us achieve the council's housing targets. It encourages a more sustainable pattern of growth and cool corridor strategies that support the promise of the Climate Action Plan. And it heeds your call for more extensive, equitable engagement in which we met an incredibly diverse population with equally diverse interests, concerns, needs, preferences, and even visions for their community. We met them where they were, and we brought them along with us, listening, learning, and raising awareness throughout the planning process. We take the responsibilities of our role for Montgomery County very seriously. It's an honor, I have to say, to do this work. And we understand the value the checks and balances that the master plan process provides. Our recommendations have been modified by the planning board, and now you, as the ultimate planning and zoning authority for Montgomery County, will get an opportunity to do the same. We understand that. And the community concerns that you'll continue to hear, that we keep hearing too, come with a familiar refrain that we've heard in other master plan efforts, whether it was downtown Bethesda, downtown Silver Spring, Tacoma Park, Littonsville, Westbard. Proposing change is hard. We get that. It's our job. And change doesn't come overnight. It's gradual. And it's necessary if we want to continue to grow in a sustainable, prosperous, and inclusive way. And it starts with a plan. And this plan rises to the challenge again, using the tools available to us in a thoughtful and deliberate way. Now, as promised, let's go ahead and show that video that highlights the transportation safety concerns along University Boulevard that we hope we address through this plan.
Every day, tens of thousands of people travel along the University Boulevard corridor by car and bus to reach their destinations. According to WMATA, University Boulevard is among Metro's busiest bus routes in Maryland. Metrobus carries more than 12,000 passengers a day, and ridership is growing, up 28% since 2019. Many people also walk and roll along University Boulevard. During the busiest times of day, people cross the intersection of University Boulevard and Colesville Road at a rate of more than 440 pedestrians per hour. That's higher than some of the busiest intersections in downtown Silver Spring. Transportation safety along the corridor has been the #1 concern we have heard through this planning process. On a given school day, there are over 6,000 students in schools fronting University Boulevard. Many of them walk or take the bus, and they often cross University Boulevard, or they wait to cross along narrow sidewalks that sit very close to the busy high-speed road. Although the speed limit on University Boulevard is 35 miles per hour, the design of the roadway and surrounding context encourages drivers to travel much faster. Over 500 vehicles exceeded 55 miles per hour on a single day. High speeds and the lack of infrastructure for pedestrians has led to crashes over the last decade. From 2015 through 2024, there have been 38 severe injury crashes and 4 fatal crashes along the corridor. 40% of the crashes involved pedestrians or bicyclists. The corridor also includes apartments like the Inwood House. Residents there tell us traveling along the corridor is challenging for them.
There's several different places where the sidewalk is either in serious disrepair or it's just too narrow and there's no guardrail. And if you go too far on one side, you're going to fall off into oncoming traffic. You go too far on the other side, you're going to fall down into a ravine, which is what happened to me when I went out one night.
In addition to transportation safety issues, much of the corridor remains an unaffordable place to live. Data show about half of county residents couldn't afford to live here. University Boulevard is an important part of Montgomery County, and we must position its growth for future success. The corridor needs real solutions to address the needs of the people who live there and who rely on it every day.
Good morning,
Council President Stewart, good morning, Council members. Zubin Adrinwala, planner with the Planning Department for the record, and delighted to be here in this step of the process. As I would cheekily say, long-time listener, first-time caller. But yes, I'm very happy to be here. This has been a long plan, and looking forward to your input as the PowerPoint comes up. Next slide, please. Oh, great. Thank you. Again, thank you to the staff for getting the video going. I think that was an important perspective for us to have. The primary catalyst for this plan has been Vision Zero and the road conditions of the corridor, which make it unsustainable and frankly unacceptable for our residents and everyone who uses the roads and the communities that surround them. Next slide, please. So we have been working on this process since 2022. As I mentioned, it has been a long road getting here. Over the last 3 years, we have gone through a rigorous process of development of a scope of work, visioning, analysis, preliminary recommendations to a working draft, and then a planning board draft for us to finally be here for County Council review. So next slide. Even as most of you are aware what a master plan is and what it does, here's a quick reminder of the process as well as the product. At its heart, a master plan is our vision for the future of the community. It's where we set goals for land use, zoning, transportation, parks, trails, and community facilities. All the things that make a place a vibrant and livable community. Of course, a master plan doesn't change things overnight, and we have re-emphasized this through the process. What it does, it lays a roadmap out, and as Jason sort of more articulately pointed out, it's really a dream for the county that we have, or the dream for that geography. Of course, none of this happens in a vacuum. Community input is absolutely critical and essential in shaping our recommendations in meaningful ways. If you look at this Venn diagram here, you'll see that we bring together the knowledge of planners, the ideas and feedback from community members, and the insights from outside experts. Next slide, please. So this kind of winding road that is the master planning process outlines the comprehensive master planning process that has been applied to the University Boulevard Corridor Plan in accordance with our general guidance. And one thing I would like to add to this sort of winding path is even as this image looks kind of linear, the process is quite iterative, which means we keep returning to visioning and analysis, we keep returning to community input, we keep returning to feedback. So just for convenience, it's laid out like that, but in reality, it's a much more richer, complex, and messy process. And hopefully you'll see that reflected through the recommendations and how those recommendations have modified through community input. Moving on. So speaking of community input, over the course of this process, we have held 20 community meetings, which we organized in the community. And then we also participated in 20 plus meetings and events where the community invited us, or if there were events such as parks, acoustics, and ales, where we would go and set up a table and allow people to come and speak to us. So just kind of doing quick math with this, we have been at it till sort of June for 33 odd months. So that averages about 1.2, 1.3 meetings or events per month throughout the life of this plan. And at one point, I remember we were averaging 10 meetings, a meeting every 10 days when we were in the thick of the community engagement process. So as has been pointed out, we have had 1,000 door knocks. We have had conversations in 6 languages. We have tried our best to have Spanish outreach through meetings held exclusively in Spanish, or in meetings where we had translators or interpreters available. We also had an interactive feedback map where community could go to a specific geography and point to a location on the map and say, crossing here is difficult, or something to that effect. And then finally, the zoning recommendations, which have garnered a lot of interest. We have a live zoning recommendation map right now where anybody can go and type in their address and see if the zoning changes apply to them or to their neighbors. It also, what we've also tried to do is make it a little bit educational, because we understand that if somebody just heard about this map from their neighbor or their friend, we want to make sure that more technical terms like FAR and what CRN zoning means and what CRT zoning means is explained on the map. And then, of course, we have had several one-on-one and small group meetings, which have continued as recently as till July. So we have been in the community and engaged with them as meaningfully as possible. Next slide, please. So the community vision has been articulated here quite well through people who spoke before me, but we are focused on making the corridor a walkable, multimodal corridor, ensuring that we add new housing near BRT, and then support sustainable growth and helping community meet its Vision Zero and climate goals. So next slide. Here's a quick snapshot of where the corridor is located in the context of the county. I'm continually amazed by how big a county we share. It's always surprising to me. Never get tired of looking at it. So in that context, again, let's go to the next slide, which is the population here. The area serves nearly 10,000 residents and around 3,500 households. The population has grown steadily, although its kind of rate of growth has slowed down a bit. And then the average household size is about 2.72 people per household, which is slightly higher than the nearby Silver Spring and North Bethesda. Next slide, please. So a quick note on the median household income. It's about $103,000, which is slightly lower than the county median household income. And one thing I would like to point out is more households in the corridor earn less than $50,000 as a household income than earn more than $200,000. So I think it's also sort of important to note here, if you look at the chart, that the per capita income is actually lower, whereas the average household income is actually higher, which is a little bit of an indicator of the kind of economic diversity within the corridor, which is you have some really high income households and some quite low income households sharing proximity in the corridor. So with that, of course, then we also have education, where we have nearly half the residents have a bachelor's degree, although 14% have not finished high school or have a high school equivalent diploma. So again, that indicates to that diversity that we are seeing reflected also in the incomes. Next slide, please. The area's population is aging with the median age of around 40. There are more residents over 65 as an age group. And then, of course, the area is also racially and ethnically diverse, just as it is in terms of incomes. So you'll see a robust representation of African Americans or Black or African origin residents, as well as Hispanic and Latino residents, although the area still remains majority white. Next slide, please. So this is a point that has been made here. I want you to keep the 10,000 population in mind. I'm assuming some of them are, of course, kids, but hopefully not all of them. So you see that we have nearly 8,000 students within the plan area on any given day. There are, of course, private schools too, although public schools dominate that student population. The figure is particularly important to transportation recommendations, which aim to promote student safety. Additionally, these measures are intended to allow the students who are living in close proximity and who may be part of the plan area or neighborhoods around the plan area to walk or bike to their schools as needed. Anecdotally, when we spoke with schools, people pointed out that there were sort of responsible older siblings who would take their younger siblings to the middle school or the primary school and then find their way on public transit or by walking to their high school. So again, we don't have exact data for that, unfortunately, but there's anecdotal evidence that there are a lot of students who are excellent older brothers and sisters. Finally, next slide, please. And that brings us to the challenge with crashes. As has been pointed out, that we have had numerous crashes in and around the area between 2015 and 2024. There were 51 severe injuries that resulted in 5 crashes. And I say 5 versus 4 because the 5 were just out, the 5th one was just outside the plan area but still along the corridor. In fact, University Boulevard ranks 4th among the state-maintained roads in county's high injury network. So recognizing these challenges, we want to emphasize that the draft plan prioritizes road safety, and we want to make sure that these road safety issues are meaningfully addressed. So next slide, please. The Metro bus ridership is quite high here. It is an extremely important corridor for bus ridership, particularly for WMATA's C2 and C4 lines. I would add a note here that they have been rebranded this summer as the M12 line, but the point still stands. So while Metro bus ridership or Metro rail ridership, my apologies, is lower by around 20% since pre-pandemic levels, what we have seen with C2 and C4 is that ridership has actually grown by 28%. So it's not only bucking the sort of overall trend, it's countering it meaningfully. The graph that you see here is the C2, C4 line, which has a benefit score that is number 4 or ranked 4 in the whole system. There are only 3 other routes that have higher scores, and they serve the most crowded and busiest parts of Washington, D.C. So WMATA measures how important a bus route is. It depends on how many people ride it, who lives nearby, and how much that route helps the whole network. This helps them pick lines and routes which to focus on as they plan improvements. So C2 and C4 again, which was now be the M12 ranks quite high in the overall system. Next slide, please, which is a good segue into the bus pilot that was recently implemented by MCDOT, WMATA in partnership with the State Highway Administration. So this has been part of the recommendation since the as the 2013 Countywide Transit Corridors Master Plan. The pilot was launched in early 2024 and was made permanent in May of this year. The pilot evaluation indicated that 99% of the drivers use the lanes appropriately, which is the 1% that broke the rule. I know for anyone who uses this or Georgia, it's always jarring to see someone go through that. And then overall, there was a 7% reduction in Metrobus travel time through the implementation. There was a 20-second increase in vehicular travel time along the 2-mile pilot corridor, so which is between Wheaton CBD to Dennis Avenue. So we saw around a 20-second increase in vehicular travel time. Of course, during school dismissal, the queue that formed at the right turn of Arcola dissipated within 1 cycle, which means there was no cycle failure. So the idea that nobody had to wait 2 lights to go through these signals. So that was kind of observed during and this is all information that is from MCDOT. Next slide, please. So I apologize for this text-heavy slide, but transportation recommendations include reducing the number of uncontrolled left turns to and from the driveways and at unsignalized intersections. This improves road safety for everyone. This includes people driving as well as, of course, those walking, biking, and rolling. Separating the side path with a street buffer and street trees helps people walking, biking, and rolling. A more comfortable side path encourages these activities too. The buffer also protects from heat and sun and pollutants. Our environmental recommendations include making this a cool corridor, and as some of you were on the tour yesterday, you might have noticed that there was times when it got unbearably hot, especially when we were on the sidewalk. The no right turn on red and leading pedestrian intervals reduce the number of conflicts drivers need to watch for when making the right turn. These tools, of course, make crossing pedestrians more visible and reduce the stress of driving. They also improve safety for people walking and biking and rolling. The plan to implement no right turn on red restrictions plan is to implement no right turn on red at signalized intersections unless the Director of Transportation or the Director's designee determines that installing a restriction would significantly impair public safety. So we are adding the ability to have a more nuanced approach in implementation of the no right turn on red. We Will also provide leading pedestrian intervals, which would give pedestrians advance time to cross the boulevard, and intersecting streets at signalized intersections. Again, the caveat for unless the Director of Transportation or the Director's designee determines that installing an advance interval would significantly impair public safety, we can make that change. So the plan allows for that flexibility. Next slide, please. So the dedicated transit BRT has been in our existing plan since 2013. In 2024, dedicated bus lanes were implemented from Amherst Avenue to Dennis Avenue, and the draft plan recommends extending the dedicated bus lane through Four Corners after extensive coordination with MCDOT. The draft plan recommends implementing these dedicated bus lanes within the existing curb-to-curb width of the roadway. So we were not requiring expansion in any meaningful way. As noted here, the corridor serves some of the most heavily used bus routes in the state of Maryland. So we think that this is an important recommendation for transportation. Next slide, please. Outside Four Corners, so approximately kind of west of Lorraine Avenue and east of Lexington, which is that jug handle that you see at Four Corners, the plan recommends maintaining the existing location of street curbs, and from those existing curbs, the plan recommends moving the sidewalk 8 feet outward, i.e. away from the center of the street, to accommodate space for landscape street buffers and a wider side path. A 2-foot maintenance buffer is also recommended, and the plan does anticipate needing a 124-foot right-of-way identified in the previously adopted master plan to accommodate landscape street buffers, pedestrian and bicycle facilities. The existing right-of-way varies along the corridor, but it is generally narrower than 124 feet. The additional right-of-way needed to accommodate the plan's recommendation will require dedication through redevelopment or partial acquisition of property frontages, which will all be determined at a future redevelopment if it takes place, or detailed engineering of capital improvement in consultation with the property owner. This is quite similar to the process that's ongoing on Colesville as well as Weir's Mill. Next slide, please. So in these diagrams, what you can see is the conditions that we expect within the Four Corners area. And if you can cycle to the next slide just for a second. So between these two diagrams, you will see the conditions that we anticipate, or the recommendations rather, at the Four Corners. So the plan recommends narrowing the remaining existing traffic lanes, and of course this is to add those dedicated bus lanes to 10 feet each, moving the curbs inwards, which is towards the center of the street, and minimizing the acquisition of additional right-of-way. So there is an interim condition as part of the master plan where no additional right-of-way would be required, and that does not provide recommendation for recommended buffers and a wider sidewalk, but it can still have the dedicated bus lanes. So we, with the additional right-of-way requirement that will take place only in the event of an extensive capital project, or in the event that properties along these portions of the corridor undergo some significant redevelopment. So next slide, please. So this is kind of a watercolor illustration of Four Corners. For context, this is a view from the street on the side of Woodmore Shopping Center, looking towards Colesville Road. You can see sort of bus rapid transit median running on Colesville, and as well as the bus rapid transit curb running, or dedicated BRT on University Boulevard, which is curb running. We've also explored some development potential for the Four Corners. Again, this does not kind of go through the maximum zoning recommendation, but we think these are sort of either likely or potential developments that we might see over the next 2 decades if the property owners choose to redevelop. which is again a good segue into the zoning recommendations. For single-family lots or R60 or R90 zoned lots, the recommendation was to go to CRN zoning. So you can see that in the dark purple on this map. Institutional properties or commercial properties, we have recommended CRT zoning. In some cases, the CRT zoning is also an update to the existing zone where the existing zone is outdated or it was applied before 2014 where we had a zoning update. So this is what you can see here, and we'll kind of try to dive a little deeper into these recommendations. But the CRN zoning, which applies to existing R60 or R90 households, is in most cases, we are just going to the first street over from the corridor. If you see some bulges along on this map, those are near BRT stations, where we think additional density is likely going to be beneficial and will further encourage BRT that's well used and is enjoyed by more residents. So next slide, please. As part of the rezoning, one of the parcels that generated a lot of interest from community members was the Kemp Mill Shopping Center parcel or area. And then what we had was the existing zoning there is neighborhood retail with a FAR of 0.75 and a height allowance of 45 feet. What we were recommending is proposed zoning, which would take the FAR to 1.5, which would be CRT, has a commercial component of 0.75 and a residential component of 1.25 and a height of 70 feet. We think that this recommendation would significantly protect this establishment and this property from whatever happens over the next 2 decades or so. And it meets our housing goals for the corridor and for the county indeed, but it also allows, we also have specific language where we will be able to protect the existing commercial. And through the optional method, we have an opportunity to meaningfully have conversations with any future development that comes in to encourage them to maintain the pieces of this development that the community already enjoys. To that end, on the next slide, and again, I'll give credit for all of this language to the community because the community came to us through the planning process and said, look, this is a very valuable cultural commercial resource, and we want to make sure that whatever future development comes, if it comes, it is preserved. So I won't read the whole, the underlined sort of bold language that you see is language that indeed the community kind of guided us to insert in there. But the plan basically recommends a phased redevelopment of the Kemp Mill Shopping Center. So it allows for the existing neighborhood retail to operate even as any development is taking place, implementing strategies for retaining existing and attracting new independent retailers that may want to come, with incentives to preserve affordable rents. And then establishing business cooperatives and building smaller store sizes that could accommodate local businesses. And then finally, attracting and supporting local retailers and small businesses through loans, technical assistance programs offered by the state and county's economic development agencies. So we think that there is a possibility, and again, this becomes master plan language. As you're aware, any new development will go through master plan conformance. And if a development does not demonstrate significant master plan conformance, their ability to move through the stages of regulatory approval become difficult or impossible. Next slide, please. Going back to the CRN zoning, these are examples that we think kind of show the kind of developments that we may see if this the CRN zoning is implemented as recommended in the plan. Again, there are restrictions, and the overlay zone has more restrictive language than the existing CRN zone. So I can mention that a little later, but next slide, please. So for the commercial residential neighborhood zone, what we have is it's designed for sort of more pedestrian-friendly, neighborhood-focused mixed-use centers and transitional edges. It allows for various housing types, including detached houses, duplexes, townhouses, and apartment buildings. While the CRN zone is mixed use, it can be entirely residential, which is what we have done here. The development standards are based on building type. So in some cases, projects under 10,000 square feet and less than 40 feet do not necessarily require a site plan. When CRN zone properties are next to residential zone, they must meet certain compatibility standards of setbacks. I also want to clarify that normally CRN zone will allow 90% lot coverage. However, under the proposed University Boulevard overlay zone, lot coverage is limited to 35% of the site, especially for sites smaller than 15,000 square feet, which is most of the households or most of the lots for households here in the corridor. So the overlay is, again, in response to community concerns where when people saw CRN standards and they came to us and said, does this mean my neighbor can build 90% of their lot? We were cognizant of that, and we ensured that it goes to 35% of the lot coverage. So just as a kind of quick footnote to that, that 35% lot coverage is almost identical to typical single-family lot coverage that you see in the county right now. So most single-family homes will go around 30-35% depending on the size. So next slide, please. So there has been concern about neighborhood compatibility and transitions within the rezone blocks, which I pointed out earlier. So the neighborhood compatibility standards are already available in the zoning ordinance, and they will be used to address neighborhood compatibility. So the height concerns are addressed here through section 4.1.8, which covers kind of additional setback and height restrictions based on abutting zones. So it allows for, again, a more nuanced approach to what will be approved and what kind of housing will come on the recommended CRN zones if it does through initiative by the property owner or the homeowner. Next slide, please. So encourage the housing recommendations encourage developments to exceed minimum affordable housing requirements for inclusivity. As we are aware, the county faces a housing shortage, and we also have an affordability shortage, crisis rather. So we are also encouraging to preserve market rate affordable units to avoid displacement, and then encouraging partnerships with nonprofits and religious institutions for new affordable homes. The corridor has already seen at least one religious institution initiate housing on their property. We are aware of another religious institution which is actively pursuing interests and partnerships to do the same. So we think there's an opportunity here to meaningfully add housing on some of those institutional properties. Of course, the way we accomplish affordability is through promoting a mix of housing types, which is duplexes, townhomes, mid-rise apartments, serving the diverse community that is along the corridor. And then we also recommend requiring larger family size accessible units in multifamily projects. Again, pointing to the existing conditions and the demographics of the corridor. We also support diverse affordable housing options to serve all community demographics. So serving the diverse populations that are in the corridor. Next slide, please. For historic resources, Romeo and LZ Horad House will be designated as a protected historic site in the Master Plan for Historic Preservation. Other cultural sites will be researched and evaluated for possible historic designation. Context study of Jewish American heritage in Montgomery County will be planned. We are also looking at the burial sites inventory will be updated to include the approximate site of John and Lucy Adamson's family burial grounds. So the corridor has a rich history, and the historical resources acknowledges as such. Parks, trails, and open spaces. I'll make a quick note before I go to the slide, which is one of the things that we heard consistently through feedback is we love the parks here. And the only challenge that we heard from neighbors and community members is that in some cases parks were difficult to access. So we want to, which is why creating this connected corridor, safe and improved pedestrian crossings, which the transportation recommendations give, are critical. The in Woodhouse conversations that we had say, I would love to go and see the park across the street, but it feels dangerous, so I'm just gonna, so they only use parks that are on the in Woodhouse side because there are limited sort of corridor-wide access for them. So of course, the recommendations include creating new open spaces or expanding existing parks to promote physical activity, social gathering, and stewardship, and environmental stewardship. Improve connections to and explore improvements within parks, including Sligo Creek Park and the Northwood Chesapeake Bay Trail. Link parks and open spaces with existing and proposed bikeways and trails. Retain and improve existing parks, trails, and open spaces. And then promote new community open spaces such as community gardens within the plan area. Next slide, please. For the environmental recommendations, we have the plan recommends protect mature trees and expand tree canopy with native plantings. Again, the recommendation to design University Boulevard as a cool corridor with green infrastructure, aim for net zero energy buildings with high efficiency buildings in the new developments, integrate sustainable site design, and in the public realm, minimizing impervious surfaces and relocate utilities underground when feasible. And then finally, promote clean energy and climate adoption features in all projects. Next slide, please. Finally, coming to community facilities, our recommendation is to co-locate new public facilities to maximize efficiency and avoid duplication, encourage innovative space-saving designs for public facilities in the urban context, and then expand community services for childcare and seniors as the population grows in the plan. Finally, ensuring public spaces and new developments are welcoming and accessible to all. So that will be critical for this plan area. Next slide, please. With that, just a quick recap of where we started and where we are. So again, thank you for your time and much appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that overview and for the tour yesterday that we were able to go on and see firsthand much of what you described today. And we know a great deal of work has gone into this, and the PHP committee will be taking this up in a couple of weeks, and then it will come back to full council. I am not seeing any colleagues with questions at this time. You did a very thorough overview, as well as really a terrific tour yesterday. We very much appreciate that. And so I know we will have continued conversations on this. And as I noted earlier, we're not having one but two public hearings on the plan. We will have one tomorrow night at the Blair High School Auditorium, and then another the following week, as is our practice. When we have plans like this, we try to do a community public hearing in the community, and so we will be doing that tomorrow night. So with that, thank you for being here, and we look forward to continuing the conversation. Item 4 on our agenda is the consent calendar. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar. Council Vice President Jawando moved. I have a second through by Council Member Sales. All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that is everyone. And I see Rita Montoya in the audience, and I just want to say thank you to her, as she is the new county executive's appointment to the Domestic Violence Coordinating Council. Thank you, Rita, for volunteering to do that and serving the community. That is it for us for our morning session. We will be returning at 1:30 for our public hearings. We are now in recess. Thank you all.